Good morning.
Good morning, too. Think we're live.
Cool. Thanks for doing all of that.
No problem.
It's so much. It's so much. I do. Well, if you are new to joining us or catching us on the live, feel free to join the Zoom if we have time to answer questions at the end to help you grow your bookkeeping business. We try to reserve as much time as we can for that. So that is for you. If you have questions, go ahead and get them answered directly. Why not? You're here. So if you're listening live, feel free to join us inside of the Zoom. If not, if you can't join us, just post your question there. Megan is really good at seeing those and we answer them towards the end. So, cool. Yeah. Megan, anything else I missed before we jump into today's topic?
I don't believe so. I think we're ready.
Cool. Sounds good. So today's topic is all about I don't know. Let me just go ahead and start with, have you ever had a day where you go to open a person's set of books and it's not maybe what you thought it was, and you're like, oh, this is so much messier than I thought. And you know that GIF, or however you say that word, where the baby's like, nope, not today. Like, just I'm gonna turn around. I was trying to find that for you guys. But sometimes that's how it feels when you're opening a set of books and you're like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. This is so much messier than I thought. And maybe you're just quoting. Hopefully, you're just at the quoting stage when you find that. But sometimes you've already quoted and now you're finally getting access to it, and it is not what you thought. Um, Sometimes it's so bad you wonder if their last bookkeeper was a toddler with a keyboard, right? Um, if so, today's topic is for you. Okay. Um, my worst cleanup. Oh, I don't know if it's my worst. I have two that are pretty close. I'm gonna go with it today. I think this one is pretty up there. I just because it was never okay, both of them were never ending. So they both qualify. They both probably tie for like number one spot, but the one I'm gonna share. Um every time I turned around, this business owner was always opening a new bank account, getting a new loan, like a firm, Klarna, you name it, he had it, right? Like he was just trying to get bills paid. And so it just felt like it was a never ending cleanup. Like, even though once we like gotten them cleaned up and we were doing, current stuff, it was just always a cleanup where he would shut down a bank account on me. He would open another one. And even though I talked to him all the time, it just felt like I was always behind with this cleanup. Like I could never actually stay on top of it because the goalpost kept moving. Like nightmare type of cleanup situation, constant cleanup situation. Well, his wife came over after I had our third little baby, and she came over to see the baby, right? Sure enough, it became a business conversation, as they do. Well, I'm now like really postpartum. She discloses that they have another bank account that they hadn't told me about, like, because she was asking me a question or whatnot. And I answered, I was like, oh, we're waiting on this. And she was like, oh, but do you have, I, no joke, cried. No joke. But I mean, postpartum, like anything could have set me off at that point. And I didn't like bawl my eyes out. It was just like definitely like I had that awkward moment of I'm like laughing because it's too hysterical that like I've been doing your books for so long. And now you're presenting me with this other thing to finally answer, the questions that I've been asking you for 6 months. The answer is there's another bank account, and it broke my heart because of the amount of work I had put in to try to have this really restful, peaceful postpartum period of time. And here you are just squashing all of my organization. So Messy books equal messy headaches. Headaches sometimes don't go away. They are also huge opportunities, right? You know how to clean them up. If you don't, you are learning how to clean them up through a lot of our resources. We have the whole messy cleanups, make money faster with cleanups. We have that little section for you in the course. We also do a lot of hand holding because this is a very tactile business to be in terms of you learn by doing. The quickest way, just side note, to derail growing your bookkeeping business is to get stuck on tutorial island. So think about like gaming level, and we're just going to read the instructions all day long, and we never actually press start. We never play the game. Okay. Bookkeeping is very much a play the game environment so that you can learn and level up. Okay. That is the whole way running a bookkeeping business works, is you do have to hit play the game. Okay. You become the client's hero. When you clean up their books, you save them taxes, you become the hero. So like video game analogy, I wish we had that in the notes, Megan. That's like so true of this whole what we're doing here. And sometimes you get hurt. Sometimes you become the hero, you rescue the princess, all is good. Okay. So what are the biggest red flags? Like how, because some of you are hearing this and you're like, oh, I don't ever want that to be me. I'm done. Nope, not today in this whole business now. But you can spot these early on, and we try to help you know it before you open the set of books so that you're not under quoting on a cleanup. But as you start to go through the financials, you're going to go through the balance sheet and the P&L. So income statement. Most of you, or profit and loss statement. So when I say P&L, I'm not just trying to put an abbreviation out there. Profit and loss. Most of you guys are going to start with that financial statement first. It's the easiest one to learn. It makes a lot of sense. So as you're scrolling through the profit and loss statement, also called income statement, you're going to see a lot of transactions dumped into Ask My Accountant, miscellaneous, or uncategorized income or expenses. And this is the business owner saying, I have no clue, or the bookkeeper before us saying, I have no clue. I am trying to get this information from the CPA or the business owner. Okay. You can start with the bank statements, invoices, receipts, especially if it's uncategorized income. Was it a payment? Like some of those are actually pretty easy to figure out. Was it a payment? Was it income? And the business owner will they should be able to tell you, yes, I receive income via Venmo. If you're looking at a Venmo transaction, right? So it tells us more of what we need to know. 2, reconciliations have not been done for months or years. I had a client recently come to me, and guys, I hope that you guys appreciate that me and Megan still run keeping businesses as our day-to-day lives, because we're in this with you. And no joke, about a month ago, she came to me. She was trying to fill out something for her bank, and she wanted me to kind of approve of the financials, if that makes sense. So I got in. Nothing had been reconciled, and she was like, I don't honestly even know what you're saying. That's fair. And she's like, I've checked. Everything's there. Well, okay. All right, great. If everything's there, go ahead and send me your bank statements. In no time, we'll reconcile it. We'll be able to give you like our stamp of approval, if that makes sense. Megan, give me just a second.
Okay.
Okay, I love how she says if that makes sense, because I say that all the time. If that makes sense, that makes sense.
That's funny.
Sure enough, when we went and reconciled her accounts, we were missing all kinds of transactions from like just where the bank feed, because she was like, well, the bank feed's connected, so I've coded everything. I must clearly have everything. Well, not quite, because that's what happens with the bank feed. They disconnect, they break. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, to touch on that a little bit, I had a cleanup last year that a client came and they were, or a potential client came and was like, hey, I paid like $20,000 in taxes. Something doesn't feel right. And when I got in and looked at QuickBooks, her income was overstated because she had connected a payment processing system. So it duplicated everything. And then she had never reconciled. So she had so many missing transactions. So she ended up having like getting a refund back after that. But because she didn't realize you have to reconcile and how important that is, you know, but that's one of those things where business owners use QuickBooks, they think they know how to do everything, but it's just like that one, what seems like a simple step is missing because, oh, everything's coded, so we think everything's there. I think they intentionally leave transactions out from some banks. Yeah, you definitely never know.
I think Bank of America is one of the ones I always see missing transactions. Sorry, I
Oh,
figured Sherry went away, so yeah,
yeah.
busy. But
And
yeah,
And
Bank of America.
some, when they disconnect, like I have one client that I deal with all the time. It's a smaller bank and the bank always gets disconnected. But when it disconnects for that time period, if it goes like 2 weeks without being reconnected, it's 2 weeks worth of transactions missing because for whatever reason that bank won't pull them back in. So yeah.
Apologies, Megan. I have a 3-year-old with a fever joining my app. So
Oh, you're good. You're good.
I do this for them, not in spite of them. So
Yes, yes, yes.
no, that yeah, there are some banks that, like, you know, interest never comes through the bank feed. Bank of America might be that. So I was listening. Sorry, Sunshine. I think Bank of America might be one of those. I ran across one recently with a student that like they had additional interest. They had a variable interest rate, and instead of including it in interest, it was just another like payment, but it was interest. So it was a little funky, but so yeah, we always have to get the statements. If you're looking at the balance sheet, you can see Miss Piggy Bank as a bank account. If you start looking at the bank account, guys, be kind to your business owners. They did not get into business to do bookkeeping. They are not accountants by trade. They are really good at what they do. If they're a
Yep.
website designer, there's a reason they do websites and I don't. If they're a marketer, there's a reason they do marketing. I don't. I clearly don't, right? Like, they're good at what they do. So by default, QuickBooks Online, if you go to create, create a new chart of accounts because we need to add something, or they think they need to add something because it makes sense to them. They don't know what they're looking at. It defaults to bank accounts. So if when you're looking at the balance sheet, I always start with the balance sheet, but that's just me. If you guys can, that's going to give you a lot of information right off the bat. You're going to see Miss Piggy Bank. You're going to see office expenses under bank accounts, and you know that, oh, okay, we got to clean up the chart of accounts really before we do anything else. But if you start with reconciling the bank and credit cards, then doing the chart of accounts, then recategorizing, because now you know that you have everything. So it's really easy to start like, oh, let's clean up the chart of accounts first. But you're going to have to go back and do it because you don't have all of the bank accounts. You're going to uncover a missing credit card. You're going to find out that they connected a personal. So I always vote, go ahead and reconcile bank accounts, credit card accounts, Venmo, whatever they have. Go ahead and figure out what they have. We can always use the reclassify tool. Some of you guys use Right Tool. There's a lot of ways to quickly move transactions around. But first we need to make sure we have all of the puzzle pieces before we start trying to reorganize. There's nothing worse than doing, and this is like the analogy with the business owner I mentioned, or in case of Megan's business owner, where she had 2 puzzles that she was sorting through. Mine, I got, to the 900 piece of puzzle and discovered that I discovered that I was missing 100 of the remaining pieces for the 1,000-piece puzzle. So just make sure you have all the pieces first. And sometimes you're not going to know, right? Like you're categorizing, you're going to be like, what is this? Oh, it's a loan. Or, I've had business owners think a $20,000 transaction was a loan that someone gave them when it was actually income. And they were missing the other $20,000 transaction because they just didn't know. And we found it at tax time, right? On the balance sheet, when you get to the balance sheet, you're going to see transaction accounts that shouldn't be negative. You're going to see a negative liability, right? Everything on the balance sheet is always going to be a positive. So if you see negative liabilities, you might know something's wrong. Negative assets, something's wrong. Okay. Megan, so we've kind of talked about finding problems. Anything else we need to add to finding now that we found problems, or anything else that you would do to find problems? There's a lot that I do to find problems, but that is like where you're going to start, and you're going to start to find problems.
Yeah, that's the biggest things. I usually review the P&L, review the balance sheet. And then do you have transactions still sitting on your banking screen? Like those are like the top 3 going in. And then you kind of touched on this earlier, like when you're reviewing the balance sheet, sometimes you have all these random bank accounts set up. And I had a client who was very bad about doing that, but I then saw how easy it was. They go to type in something that they think is set up as an expense, and that's what QuickBooks defaults to, is bank account when you go to set up an expense, and they don't know any different. So if you have random accounts, like you said, that shouldn't be a bank account, yeah, I mean, those are the biggest first steps.
Yep. I think the only thing I would add that probably didn't make it into our notes would be reviewing their tax return. A lot of you guys don't want to get your tax return. You let your client push back on you about the tax return. Assets on the tax return that aren't on the balance sheet are important, and vice versa. I had a client whose EA just ignored the fact that, they're like, in construction, welder type, trade type businesses, they're going to have assets. They're going to have a truck. They're going to have tools. They're going to have heavy equipment. They're going to have something. So in those industries, if you're looking at the industry and you're like, your balance sheet looks like a service-based business, something's probably wrong, right? If they're in the trades and it looks like they're just a service-based business. Now they are, like, you can have a plumber who's service-based, right? But we would expect some assets from most plumbing companies. Handyman maybe not, because their truck might still be personal, right? But you know what? Okay, I think that's what I've got there. But then where do we start? I often call it, the spaghetti bowl that we're untangling. Where do you start on a puzzle piece? Where do you start on a game? You start at level 1. In a puzzle, you start with the corners. Then you start with the outline, and then you start with whatever makes sense next, right? Like we've got to start somewhere. So how do we define that? Well, we're going to make a game plan. We're not going to make assumptions that the client did everything right. Now, we're not going to be, Megan, I'm going to be harsh for a second. We're not going to be the jerk that just assumes the client doesn't know what they're doing. We're going to politely assume the client doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, they don't know. They're good at their craft, as I said. And they don't know that QuickBooks is going to default to bank account. They put it in. They thought they were doing, they don't know how to read the balance sheet and the income statement unless someone teaches them. I have a business owner right now. Actually, there's an email sitting in my inbox from her. Y'all could highlight that. All of those things. She's older. I don't care. She's communicating with me the best she can, and she's communicating with me. Yes, most of my communication goes through Keeper, but she's got an email sitting in my inbox right now saying, thank you so much for these financials. I have no clue how to read them. I've never been given them before. Okay. She's been in business probably longer than I have. Okay. And she's never seen financial statements. That's okay for some businesses. But now she's asking questions and she doesn't know. She's never been taught anything. And so she's really confused on all of those things. I guess I'm saying I have compassion for these business owners because that is my job. It is my job to help them. It is my job. That's where I get to be the expert, right? Is I get to show up and say, let's fix this. It's okay. It will be okay. I had another business owner last night being like, I'm going to try to regurgitate what I told you. That's what I told her to do. I was like, can you just regurgitate whatever you hear when you make this phone call? Because she doesn't know. And that's okay. So I'm like, just she sent me a voice clip and she's like, here's what they said. And it was perfect because she did regurgitate. And so I got most of the information I need. Okay, so we're going to stop making assumptions. We're going to verify all of the balances. If it looks off, it probably is. This is where the tax return can help a little bit. Why is it off? Did someone make an adjustment? We're going to ask for bank statements, for credit card statements, for invoices if needed. So access to, a lot of you guys don't want to push for access to Dubsado accounts, CRM systems, wherever they're invoicing. Let's get access to it. Let's push back on getting the tax return. If they want to black out their social security number, have at it, right? Like, I don't care. I am just looking at numbers. They're going to send it to me through a secure software. My brain cannot remember those details. So I just need the information so that I can do it correctly. We're going to ask them for access to their payroll. Like, even if we're not running payroll, we want to get access to their payroll system. ADP, Gusto, whatever it is. We can ask them for reports, sure. 90% of the time, we're going to get what we need faster if we just have access. And it's going to take something off their plate. And so they're not going to realize how much you're doing for them. And that's sometimes okay. We're going to ask for those tax returns. If they don't have these, if they're not sending you the right ones, teach them. Send them a video. Hey, I'm looking for a report that looks something like this. Black out, information that you need to black out. Obviously, you're not going to send them something from another client. But it's okay to do some work. This is not a passive business. It can be set up to create freedom, but it's not passive. And then we're going to start with the last clean financial. And we're going to work from there. This is a hard one when we're talking to you guys, because a lot of you are like, well, I'm starting in 2025. I didn't touch anything else. Okay, so then we need all of the tax returns in between the last reconciliation and now in order to make some of those adjustments. But we have to start with like where it was last clean to really have clean books. Sometimes that means you need to go back to the client and say, hey, I just discovered this isn't correct and we need to fix it. Okay. Fixing things from the start prevents domino effect errors. Sure, there are shortcuts we can sometimes take for more experienced bookkeepers. If you're a new bookkeeper and you're just trying to hit retained earnings, trying to make a journal entry for everything, you're probably missing something. 100% you're missing something. Not to be the Debbie Downer now. Megan, he's asleep again. Poor little 3-year-old, he's asleep. I'm glad he's asleep. He needs to be asleep. He's only been awake for like an hour and a half, maybe.
That'll help him feel better, probably.
I know.
Poor thing.
Okay, so once we have the game plan, once we have the documents, we can actually really start to clean it up pretty fast. I was talking to someone yesterday. Oh, she might be on. And we were talking about this client has quite a few bank accounts, credit cards, a lot of credit cards going through like one main bank account. I 100% recommend, like, once you have all the statements, do January for all of the accounts, right? Bank, credit cards, etc. Because they're going to interrelate to each other. And if they have duplicate payments, and this is what caught my attention on her accounts, was there looked to be like duplicate payments being made, like in QuickBooks Online for the same potential payment. I don't know that because we didn't get that far. But when we do it January, we get it all clean, then we can move up, and we're creating that like solid foundation to keep going. That doesn't mean you have to wait to code everything. So if you're in a new cleanup and you're coding everything, go code it. That's totally fine, because we can code things in bulk. But when we're reconciling, do January across the board, February across the board, and it's going to prevent that, like, having to go back and undo the reconciliation, to redo it, to grab this payment, delete this other payment, connect the dots. So it will allow you to get through it more quickly. It is clearly Thursday. Okay, Megan, anything I missed there, or anything you want to add? So, like, where to start? So we were talking about, like, the foundation of building a puzzle.
One thing that I know was hard for me to learn in the beginning, and I didn't realize you could, is sometimes it's okay to start over. Like as far as a new QuickBooks account for them and stuff, because sometimes the messes are too much to try to untangle, and it's easier to just start a brand new fresh QuickBooks account for them. And that's okay sometimes. So yeah, I think that's important to remember. And sometimes they don't always have it even set up yet or anything. So those are always my favorite. If you get to start new and fresh, they're easier to do. But that doesn't mean it's impossible if they don't want to either, to start over, but it just takes more time sometimes and figuring out the mess. But I also, like, don't be scared of it, because I hear like a lot of bookkeepers all the time, like, I don't want to do a cleanup, or they're scared of them or whatever. But I think I've learned the most from some of the messiest cleanups, just because you're trying to untangle, you're trying to figure out, and now like, okay, a lot of business owners don't fully understand QuickBooks, and you're seeing what they don't understand about it. And so those have been some of my biggest learning experiences for sure.
Absolutely.
Abel said a long time ago, a CPA told me not to start over, so I'm glad to hear this. Maybe it was just their preference at the time. Thank you. Go for it, Cherry, because you'll have more input from a tax perspective.
So when Megan's saying start over, we're starting over in a new file, like a new QuickBooks file, because they've entered a lot of invoices and they haven't matched them, or like the mess is. So in GAAP accounting, the IRS actually says that if something is more costly to fix than the material difference it creates in the books, don't pursue it. So if it costs me $100 to fix $1, now I'm not gonna, don't take that to court, you will lose. As far as like $100 to $1. But does that make sense? Like, at some point it is too costly for the business owner to fix QuickBooks versus start over. Some cannot pay $24,000 to you up front to fix their cleanup file. Speaking of which, if you are doing, if you have 5-figure cleanups, consider using something, sometimes even 4-figure cleanups, consider using something like Equip 360 for your payment processors, because it will connect to some payment processors that have payment plans that's on them. It's credit based, like Klarna, Affirm. That would be a big benefit to using something like that, where they're not having to go get something like a Stripe loan to pay you. So Abel, what I was trying to get to there is, we could take the tax returns, whatever's been filed, if the business owner does not want to go fix it. the best case scenario is exactly what the CPA told you to do, and we clean it up from the beginning. Retained earnings should go back and make a picture from the beginning. It is wrong technically if it's not correct from the beginning of time. So day one that they opened their business, we saw them put $100 in. That should be on there as like a capital investment, not as owner contributions. And so we should see that $100 on the books until they close their business. Okay. Because it's on their LLC document that they made $100 or $1,000 contribution. So it's really important that we get the source documents. It's really important that we start to understand how these businesses work. If you are starting over, you need the trial balances, which you can get from the tax returns mostly. So we're going to use the tax returns more heavily to create that new QuickBooks file. Does that make sense? Does that answer in my tendency to be too wordy? Okay. Cool. Yeah. Ideally, yes. Let's go fix it. Sometimes it's just too cost prohibitive, and we're going to do the best we can to serve the business owner. These are recorded. So these are uploaded to our podcast and to our YouTube channel. And then if you want a shorter version, we take the best out of, and we will clip it into YouTube as well. So, cool. Yeah. Okay. So let's get to, really turning the mess into an organized, profitable system for the business owner. Abel, did you hear my game theory when we started this podcast? You were on at the beginning, right? Yes, I did. Okay. No more tutorial island for you. You're booted. You've already pressed play. You're on level, what, 3? Okay. So cleanups do not have to be scary if you have a system. We're going to batch similar issues together. What I tell students when I am working with them one-to-one, in essence, is like, I am on like analogy island today. Sorry, guys. I'm going to pull the thread until I solve the problem. And sometimes that means I'm going to physically have I have some white legal pads. I just cleaned up my desk. So I took it off, but like a small white legal pad. I'm going to put the client's name on it. If I had an extra hand, I would, but I'm going to put the client's name at the top. I'm going to dedicate a whole like little bitty thing to this client. I'm going to let me show you. I'm going to find one. Okay. Something like this, right? I'm going to put the client's name right here at the top. And I'm going to keep it for that client. You can do this in Google Docs. The reason I do it is because I don't want to have another document open. I already have so many documents open. So I go old school, but this is because I started old school in accounting. So I have this. I put the client's name. Everything that goes into this legal pad during a cleanup is just that client. Okay. You can add it to a Google Doc later for your team. Okay. And as I'm pulling that thread, I'm going to clean up this payment, right? I'm working on an undeposited funds cleanup, and I'm going to correct it back to what it should be. Well, I'm going to work on one payment at a time, right? But as I'm working on this payment, I'm going to see another payment that needs to be issued. Well, I might have to fix both of those at the same time, but I'm going to use the legal pad to keep me moving forward and not distracted. Because as I find other issues, I'm going to write down those other issues. So I'm working on Philip's payments to make sure that they're all correct. I come across Sally. I'm going to go ahead and write down, work on Sally next. Work on Clint after that. Like, I'm going to pull that thread until it is solved. And then I'm going to work on those other vendors or customers, depending on which way it's going. So we're going to batch similar items together. Okay. We're going to fix all the uncategorized transactions. We're going to work on all of the negative balances. Then we're going to reconcile. We're going to, whatever that is, we're going to group those batch tasks together. as much as possible, because what derails bookkeepers the fastest when it comes to doing a cleanup is distractions. Oh, I was working on this, but then I saw this. And so I started working on this. Well, then this other thing got forgotten about and you never went and finished reconciling payroll, whatever it is, right? You can start to use QuickBooks rules and bulk fixing features. So accountant reclass is a thing in QuickBooks Online. You can use rules to correct things in bulk. You could auto categorize. So when you're working on the bank feed, we're going to put a rule in. We're going to say, hey, everything that is Home Depot is going to go to cost of goods sold for this particular business owner. I'm going to create a rule and let it add. Sometimes you don't have to even do that. You can just code one and let it auto populate the rest of them. Then you're going to select all of them and code them. Either way, you're going to select all of them and code them. But if you go ahead and do the rule while you're still in cleanup mode, a lot of you are trying to do cleanup mode and you're the person keeping it caught up. So you're working on 2024, but now you're also trying to do 2025 bookkeeping. Doing those rules as you go will save you time on that current set of books. If we can mass reclassify, do that. Some of you guys are like, oh, I'm going to just categorize this thing right here. That would be your rabbit trail of stuff. Write it down, then go bulk do it if there are, 10 or more of a transaction. And then we're going to educate the client. Sometimes we need to really encourage clients to get out of QuickBooks Online. We need to really encourage them to stop recording payments in a certain manner. So we're going to educate them. During cleanups, you might set up like a monthly check-in process with the client. That's a really good opportunity to the phrase that came to mind was not kind. I was like trying to be compassionate. I'm like, wring their necks for information. But get the information out of them because they're busy. They're good at what they do. And it's overwhelming from their perspective. Like they're learning your software. So now you're using keeper.app and you've given them 200 transactions to go through. You get them on a call, you group them together. Hey, can you tell me a little bit about these Home Depot expenses? Okay, great. That's 50 transactions dealt with instantly because they're all the same purpose. He's not buying tools. They're always plumbing expenses, or Ace Hardware is always plumbing expenses, right? And then if they want to do, so some of you guys will take a cleanup on and you won't get the ongoing client, right? You'll do the cleanup, take that money, or at least I have. I've just done the cleanup and haven't gotten the reoccurring client, and that's okay with me, or at least was when I was starting. I think it still is today. We still do cleanups as is. I think I did one over the summer. No, I did a couple in January, quick cleanups. You can offer a quarterly review package where, okay, they're going to do it. I did this for sure to get some of that monthly recurring revenue when I started. I did $100 a month and I would review it at the end of the quarter and send them like a 20-minute video. Or for me, what I actually did, because for me, I found early on when I was when I was growing my business, getting on a call got my attention. Like it allowed me to get on the call, do what I needed to do and get off. And then when I was off, I was completely done. So when I was working with clients, for me, a Zoom call allowed me to prep for it. Hey, here's everything need to know. And then I was done. There was no recording, then being worried about editing and then sending it over. I didn't really edit reviews, but just the process of saving it and then sending it to them, I didn't have to do that. We could record it on Zoom and they could get a copy, right? Here's what you need to do. That worked for me. So finding what works for you is a great way to speed up what you're doing. But you get that monthly recurring revenue if you're just starting. And that helps cover some software expenses as you're growing. Okay, and if you're thinking, well, I need to get paid well for this work, we're going to talk about that as we kind of close up today. Cleanups can be stressful. They can be highly profitable. Oh, Cameron has a question. For onboarding a new client, do you have periodic meetings to learn about their transactions, or do you ask questions in Keeper as they come up for ambiguous transactions? I'm going to go ahead and answer that one, Megan. I know Megan and I do it differently.
Yeah, I just ask them as they come up. I don't do meetings unless it's something that the client like request. But yeah, typically I'll just ask them as they come up. So, when I say as they come up, like if it's a new client, like, okay, after we finish this month's work, then they're going to get the transactions for that month with questions. I have had clients who it's easier to just get them on a phone call. These are the transactions. What is the answer? But it's not something I schedule like regularly. And it's something that it depends on them. I prefer to keep it all Keeper or email.
I do. So the sales call is often a, hey, just what's the pricing gonna be? I send them the engagement letter. I go ahead and get access to everything via Keeper. So we request access to banks, get everything that we need through there. We dive in. So we dive in immediately. We're asking them questions. One of their onboarding steps, though, is to schedule an onboarding call with me after they've given us everything. But we've already gotten in. So then during that onboarding call, right off the bat, I know kind of our biggest questions. And that's where we can learn about their transactions. So like we're seeing these type of expenses come through. Oftentimes that gives us the opportunity to ask for more access to additional software that the client is using that we didn't know they had until we got into transactions, or they didn't know we needed access to. So think about like Shopify, Guten, Stripe. They didn't realize we needed access to Stripe, so we didn't know that they were using Stripe. All of those things. So we use that onboarding call for that. But we can look at transactions for the past year in their bank accounts, in their credit card accounts, hopefully by that point in QuickBooks, and see like, what are the bulk transactions? What are we really going to have questions for? Then when we're like, if a client has more than, I'm going to say 30 to 40 sitting in Keeper, it's probably time for like some sort of phone call about them. I do have a client that I do meet with monthly. No, we meet with them every 2 weeks. They move quicker. They do higher volume transactions, so their invoices are larger. We meet with them quickly every 2 weeks. This week it was like 15 minutes. And that would be an example of transactions. We ask them in Keeper, but they really like to talk. They pay for the meeting. I show up. I ask the questions. Sometimes it helps me get in front of them. Hey, I still need this. That's helpful. But it's really for them. Because we ask everything we need in Keeper, and we ask them 5 questions a week, and some of that's just, hey, can you upload your timesheets? Can you approve payroll? So we can process it. Hope that helps. Okay, so if you have gotten our pricing calculator, that will show you how to price cleanups in like based on their monthly rate. If you're going back, you might not charge them for monthly meetings. Like you're going to take that out when you do the cleanup because you're going backwards. It's not real time. It's all historical. So you're going to take out anything that's like real time. Yes, you're still reconciling sales tax, but you're not filing it, right? Yes, you're still doing payroll, but you're not. You're reconciling payroll, but you're not processing it. So we're going to tweak that calculator a little bit to make sure that that cleanup is actually correct. So a lot of times I will make a copy of it. Like I'll fill out the monthly. Here's what we got going on. I will make a copy, and I always put the client's name. So dash client's name, and then I'll do dash with the date. And then for the cleanup, I'll put dash cleanup on it. That way I know what I'm quoting for. And then I save those for the client because I do periodic reviews of what did we quote them for? Where are they at now? What's changed? And it just allows me to check in quicker. And so I save those documents for that. Okay, other ways that you can quote cleanups, just before we jump off, is hourly. You really have no clue what it's going to cost. Them, you, we don't normally suggest hourly. However, a lot of new bookkeepers really need to do hourly just because they don't know. And it allows you to start to understand how long it's going to take you to do a cleanup. I've gotten it down to where I can do, if the client meets certain parameters, I can do a year cleanup in like a review, like they've done it. I am just going to go fix some things. So if they have reconciled and it's reconciled well or not that bad. So when I do a diagnostic review, if they meet certain parameters, I can do it for $1,200. Other times, if I'm doing it like new QuickBooks file, I'm going to go into all the transactions. I can do it for about $2,400. Other times I have in the past charged $6,000, $5,000. I think the highest I did was just shy of $14,000. But then after that, I started saying, I don't think I want $14,000 cleanups. I don't. So I started developing a different system for me that works. But you have to get in and start doing them to really develop that for you based on how much time is it taking you, because time it takes you, time it takes Megan, the time it takes me or like a team is all going to be a little different. And so as you start continuing to listen to us, practice pricing, quoting, reviewing your quoting on calls within their group, you will get better and stronger and kind of learn all of the not exceptions, but exceptions. I am very much equal weights and measures, but I have learned that there are outliers that we need to pay attention to. If that's your business, if you are Myron Golden and you charge $350,000 for your coaching, you're going to charge $350,000 regardless of so-and-so's situation. So keep that in mind. Anyway, okay. Megan, I hope I didn't confuse anyone on cleanups there. There are different ways to quote cleanups. And I really want you to be comfortable and feel like you're not like a slave to cleanups. Some of you aren't going to do cleanups. You're going to say, I will never touch a cleanup. We're going to always and you're going to be like, nope, that's like sales tax. I'm not doing it. And that's okay to a point. Like we'll want to make sure you have a method to onboard clients that way. I no longer do cleanups past the prior year. So like right now, if someone came to me with 2023 cleanup, I would decline it. Unless it's like super clean and I get to start a new QBO file and I get all the bank statements and they didn't close the bank account, right? Like, so like there are some, Megan's like, I would 100% take it. I'm just like,
yeah, send it my way.
But Megan and I, we do things differently. And I think that is the beauty of having a bookkeeping business, is you get to define the work you want to do, the work you don't want to do. Now I do some things Megan doesn't do, right? Like I take on things that she doesn't take on.
Well,
but I am so over like 4 years of nonstop.
And we've talked to people who only want cleanups. Like they don't want the ongoing monthly. They don't want to have that responsibility. I'm gonna say that responsibility, but that task on their plate. They just want random cleanups every once in a while to bring in some extra money. Like that, but that is the beauty of doing this. You can do it however you want, whatever works for you,
Yeah. I so wanted to just do cleanups when I started. Early on, I had a CFO like convince me to do taxes. Anyway. So, because I had a P10, I had an EFIN for the, I was set up to do it. I just didn't want to do it. But with that, I found cleanups, like I could finish them pretty quickly, 2 weeks. But my life meant that like I really wanted a business I could start and stop. Not like start and stop like marketing or anything like that, but like I could pick up and put down. So like, hey, kids are sick this week, I'm putting it down. You know, does that make sense? Like, not the end of the world. I'm not going to go accept a cleanup this week. And then I guess I got the appeal to monthly reoccurring payments also became appealing. And sometimes I regret that. Other times I'm like, it's okay. Now that I have a team, it's a little less like pull my hair out. I don't know. Guys, I'm like a chronic project starter. So I probably have ADHD. Let's be real. Not to downgrade anyone who has a real diagnosis. Okay. I really want to pick up some monthly recurring revenue. And that is really the beauty of able things. Yeah, I won't continue that conversation, Abel. I know that. But yeah, monthly recurring revenue. The nice thing about it is if like we were sharing the business owner who does basic bookkeeping, that is her bread and butter. She doesn't do AR. She doesn't do payroll. She fires clients if they don't get her stuff, right? That is amazing. And she spends like a week doing everything for the most part, and she's done. And she makes like 60,000 a year. Some of you, that's like, I know for me, when I started, I wanted, my first goal was 1,200 a month. I wanted a very specific purpose. So I wanted to take home 1,200 a month. So when I got to 3,600 a month, I was like, oh, I'm there. I made it. And then my husband came in and like, let's 10x this, is how it felt. And so anyway, okay. If you are not part of the Bookkeeper Blueprint, we did our last co-working call today. We have weekly group calls. I do one, Megan does one. We do another one on Thursdays with another coach. And then we have this call, obviously. You get access to all of the trainings, all of those things, make money faster with cleanups, all of the things that we wish we had when we started our business. I was going to say something about it and got distracted. I'm sorry. But our next onboarding call is on Monday. So if you're looking to go ahead and get started to jump in, we would love to see you on that call on Monday, just so that you're there in time for my call is Tuesday nights. So I love to see new people on that call in terms of like getting in time that week. But Megan likes to see you guys on the call too.
Yeah. Yep, definitely.
Yeah. So we answer all of the questions you guys have. Just, I don't know. It's all the stuff we've literally created this to be all the stuff I searched and Megan searched and searched for when we were starting our business, because it wasn't as readily available. Ultimately, our goal is to get you off a tutorial island and pressing start on your business.
Yep. I dropped the link if anybody's interested. If y'all have questions, feel free to message us or email us or whatever, and we're happy to answer them to see if it is a good fit for you.
Sounds good. Well, I will see you guys next week. Did we miss any questions?
I don't think so. I just double checked Facebook. Everything looks good.
Cool. Sounds good. Y'all are quiet today.
Abel said he hopes the little one feels better.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Abel. Thank you. Okay. If you guys didn't get to ask a question that you had, post it in the group, tag us and say, hey, I didn't get to ask this today, but I would love this answered, and we will check it out. See you guys next week.
Bye.